Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. And if you're a true General Hospital fan, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started with today's video. General Hospital, GH, reports for Tuesday, July 14th state that Jason Morgan, Steve Burton, and Danny Morgan, Asher and Tonizin depart town while Kai Taylor, Jens Austin Astrop, joins forces with Drew Kane, Cameron Matheson. Plus, Valentin Cassadine, James Patrick Stewart, wants to buy back Wyndemere, so let's speak about everything that happened in Port Charles today. First, Willow Kane, Caitlin McMullen, and Nina Reeves, Cynthia Wetros, summoned Jack Brennan, Chris McKenna. The two women summoned him to the house because they were concerned that Drew was regaining mobility. After all, Willow is running low on paralyzing medication and has had to stretch it out. Jack tells them that he was ready to go to Wyndemere to find his black box, which has incriminating evidence against Drew, among other things, when he was stopped by them. He needs to travel out there, and Nina offers to help him find it. Willow speaks with Drew after they leave and discusses his attempt to frame her for being the car involved in Jordan Ashford's Tanisha Harper crash. Willow tells Drew that because he committed the stunt, she has no choice but to limit his access to others, which is why she has sent Scout Kane, Cosette Abinante, to live with Alexis Davis. Willow also mentions that she wishes there was another option. She continues to tease him, claiming that she must maintain him in this state. After all, he's so vengeful that he'd ruin her life if she took him out of this locked-in state without any blackmail evidence. Kai unexpectedly arrives at Willow's door. He needs notes for their daycare meeting, and Willow grudgingly goes to get them from the office. Drew knocks over a medicine bag, which Kai notices. Kai tells Drew that this is fantastic and asks if he should go tell Willow, to which Drew blinks and says no. Willow re-enters the room, and Kai lies by claiming he knocked over the bag to cover for Drew. Kai hastily exits the house, but Willow recognizes that Kai was not the one who caused the bag to fall. Willow regrets that Drew is making it difficult for her to control him. This is when she recalls Jack's comment about killing Drew. She then begs the wheelchair-bound man to stop playing games. She does not want to lose her children again, and will do anything to keep them. Jason and Danny are having a nice reunion at the Q Boathouse. Jason convinced his son that he was home for good and that the WSB had released him. Danny then questioned why Jason took the fall for Rocco Falconeri Fincar. Jason added that he envisaged Danny in that scenario and did not want to damage his brother's life. Jason informs his son about the horrors of the WSB prison, but does not go into detail. He also promises to make Danny his main priority going forward. Danny told Jason that he confessed to Jack that Rocco was Ross Cullum's, Andrew Hawk's, shooter, but the WSB had advised him to move on and drop it. Tracy Quartermain, Jane Elliott, then arrived on the scene to greet Jason and prove he was not on the run. Jason informed her that he was a free man, but that he and Danny were going on a trip away for a few days and would notify Alexis and the rest of the family. Meanwhile, Wyndemere General Hospital recaps for Tuesday's episode show that Dante Falconeri, Dominic Zamprogna, arrived on the scene with some other PCPD investigators to gather evidence. Dante was irritated that the WSB had washed the area dry while knowing that the local police were attempting to apprehend Jen Sidwell, Carlo Rota. Valentin appeared, accompanied by Charlotte Cassadine, Bluesy Burke, and stated that he wanted to buy Wyndemere back. Charlotte dashed upstairs to check out her former bedroom as her father and stepfather conversed. However, it appeared Valentin and Charlotte were up to something. Dante believed Valentin was being unfair to Charlotte by making promises he couldn't keep, such as returning to Wyndemere. Valentin said that he wasn't pleased that Lulu Spencer, Alexa Havens-Bruning, was stirring the pot by attempting to keep him away from Charlotte. Valentin believes Lulu's behavior will lead to the loss of her daughter in the end, and Charlotte verified this when she returned and told Dante she wanted to live with her father going ahead. After all, her mother does not trust or appreciate her like her father does. Dante had left Wyndemere, only for Nina and Jack to arrive. Nina and Charlotte had a disagreement, and the teen revealed that she is still upset at Nina for attempting to exploit her to get to Valentin. After some banter between the four, Valentin and Charlotte leave, with Valentin promising his daughter that they will return to their old home someday. Once they were gone, Jack recognized how crucial it was to find the black box, especially if Valentin had apprehended them at Wyndemere. Valentin now realizes there is something in the house that Jack desires. #O. According to General Hospital summaries during Tuesday's episode, Elizabeth, Liz Baldwin, Rebecca Herbst was still conversing with Dr. Tristan Roberts, Dean Geyer. Unfortunately, Tracy interrupted them. The men left as Tracy chastised Liz for supporting Sonny Corinthos, Maurice Bernard, bid for a seat on the hospital board. Dante appeared at the nurse's station to schedule a physical, as he plans to return to detective work. After all, Anna Devane, Finola Hughes, would soon want her comfortable police commissioner position back. He and Liz discuss this, then stroll to the foyer and sit on the bench. They continue to discuss more intimate topics, such as Valentin and Charlotte, and how he believes the blonde isn't the best influence on Rocco. Dante went so far as to imply that Charlotte should live with Valentin because of this. In the end, the two grew closer as Liz made it clear that she was available whenever Dante needed to vent. At Bobby's, Britt Westbourne, Kelly Thiebaud, was still upset about Carly Spencer, Laura Wright, changing the locks on her apartment. Isaiah Gannon saw Andy Wilson, strolled in and chatted with her, delighted to have her back in town. They were having an excellent talk until Tristan arrived. In an unusual turn of events, he hired the room above Bobby's, Britt's room, and received a confirmation email to prove it. Carly's counter employee handed him an envelope containing a room key. However, when Britt overheard the transaction, she intervened, insisting that Tristan give her the key. Tristan refused, so Isaiah stepped in and tried to calm Britt down. After all, it wasn't Tristan's fault that Carly changed the locks. He had paid for the accommodation. Britt backed down, but not before informing the new GH surgeon that the room had bed bugs. Jordan finally came at Portia Robinson's Brook Kerr residence, intending to persuade the woman to testify against Curtis Ashford, Donnell Turner, in his trial by claiming that Isaiah provoked him. This sparked a fight between the ladies over the car crash, Isaiah and Curtis, and the upcoming baby. After Jordan stormed out, Portia began feeling contractions and braced herself against the couch. General Hospital spoilers indicate that Curtis and Portia's baby is on its way, so will anyone stop by to aid the new mother with her delivery? The sun set low over Port Charles, spreading long shadows across the Quartermain estate as Jason Morgan stood on the dock with his son Danny. The water lapped gently on the wood, providing a rare moment of quiet in an often chaotic life. Jason's homecoming the day before had been emotional. Hugs, promises, the weight of years apart lifted slightly, but today held a different finality. They were leaving town. Jason zips up the duffel bag at his feet, staring at Danny, who is 14 and already has Morgan's stubbornness in his jaw. "You sure about this, kid? Port Charles has its problems, but it's home." Danny nodded, his eyes unwavering despite the stress of the previous weeks. The shooting event with Rocco, the secrets, the arrests, it had all gotten to him.
"Yeah, Dad.
I need a break. And you need to figure things out without everyone pulling you back in." Jason brushed his son's hair, a rare, gentle gesture. They boarded a tiny boat that would take them to a waiting automobile, then to a quieter location. There were no goodbyes to the Quartermains other than a short note. There were no emotional farewells in the Metropolitan Court. Just father and son, slipping away as the town simmered with limitless curiosity. As the boat cut through the water, Jason's thoughts turned to the answers he gave the night before. His absence, the WSB issues, the black site nightmares, they were not entirely addressed, but leaving felt necessary. Danny looked at the retreating shoreline with a mixture of relief and anxiety on his face. The city lights of Port Charles faded, leaving behind the draw of family drama, mob links, and unresolved vendettas. For now, the road ahead was just theirs. Meanwhile, in a sleek high-rise office overlooking the harbor, Kai Taylor paced the floor, his athletic physique tight with expectation. The young guy had been lured into the orbit of Port Charles's power players, and his partnership with Drew Kane was evolving into something more strategic. Drew sat in his wheelchair beside the window, his body still recuperating from the strange stroke that had kept him trapped inside for months. But Kai had noticed the signs, the small twitches, the fire returning to Drew's eyes. Shocking information had lately surfaced, along with whispers of manipulation and betrayal, which drove their strategy. Kai, you need to understand, Drew replied, his voice low but growing stronger. Willow thinks she's won. She believes I'm still trapped in this chair, oblivious. But I've heard everything. The drugs, the lies, the way she's been playing everyone. Kai leaned against the desk, arms folded. He had checked on Drew several times out of concern, but those trips proved the truth. Drew was gradually regaining mobility. Drew's daring moves, reaching for hidden phones and testing his limbs when no one was looking, had convinced Kai that he was ready for vengeance. Their plot was meticulous. Drew desired retribution, not only against Willow, but also against the web of characters who had sidelined him. Nina, Brennan, and even residual Cassadine influences. Kai, with his connections and youth, would be the eyes and ears on the ground. We'll start small, Kai advised, putting up a chair. I feed Willow false intel, make her think you're deteriorating further. Meanwhile, you rebuild your strength in secret. When the moment hits, we strike. Business deals, secrets exposed. Everything she's built crumbles. Drew's eyes sparkled. Valentin's suspicious already. He's circling back into town like he owns it. If he wants Wyndemere, let him chase the ghost. It'll distract everyone while we move. The two men spent hours mapping it out, Kai relaying information from hospital corridors and social circles, Drew directing from the shadows of his recovery. Kai felt the rush of power. Allying with Drew was no longer only about loyalty. It was a step toward his own ascension in Port Charles's vicious environment. They toasted with water glasses, forming an alliance based on common grudges and ambitions. The game was on, and Kai was no longer a spectator. Across town, at the Cassadine compound's ruins and in heated meetings, Valentin Cassadine made his objectives known. He wanted Wyndemere back. The ancient home, with its Gothic spires and dark history, embodied everything the Cassadines stood for: power, legacy, and control. Valentin returned from his ordeals, escapes, and pardons with a fresh hunger. He met with lawyers and old allies in a dimly lit room, with estate designs spread out in front of him. Wyndemere is mine by right, Valentin insisted, his accent pinched with conviction. Laura had doubts. Charlotte's custody problems remained, but the property itself spoke to him. He had hidden, struggled, and nearly lost everything behind its walls. Now, with Anna's shaky reunion and old scores settled, regaining it was the natural next step. Suspicions swirled around him, Jordan's inquiries, Elizabeth's firm position at the hospital, but Valentin pressed on. He visited the place in the evening, with the wind howling through the abandoned grounds. Memories poured back, including clashes with Nicholas and plans with Helena's shadow looming. This place will be restored, he said quietly to an acquaintance. Not just the stones, but the influence. Plans included security upgrades, legal tactics to seize possession of any Spencer or Quartermain claims, and covert connections to ease the path. Valentin's suspicions about those around him, Drew's strange recuperation, Kai's movements, only heightened his focus. Wyndemere wasn't just real estate, it was a throne. The threads of these stories were intertwined in Port Charles's rich tapestry. As Jason and Danny's departure reverberated across the community, Sam quietly processing the news, Sunny making calls to guarantee safe passage, Kai and Drew's plotting fueled already simmering embers. Drew's covert advancement jeopardized Willow's carefully created veneer, while Kai's engagement reignited old conflicts. Valentin's search for Wyndemere roused Cassadine ghosts, diverting attention away from Anna, who balanced her own healing with apprehension about her complicated relationship with him. In the days that followed, the town was alive with activity. At the Metro Court Pool, Rocco and his buddies dealt with Danny's departure as old conflicts about trust and the shooting resurfaced. Emma pursued her own goals, revealing facts about figures such as Dalton. Jordan lashed out in investigations, encountering walls constructed by the powerful. Elizabeth remained firm at GH, embracing newcomers like Tristan while navigating the undercurrents. Jason's boat arrived on the mainland, where an inconspicuous automobile awaited. New start, he informed Danny as they drove into the night. Danny gave a slight smile as the weight of Port Charles lifted. Back home, Kai left Drew's side with a purposeful stride, ready to sow falsehoods. Valentin completed paperwork, his gaze set on the horizon, on Wyndmere's silhouette. The narrative intensified when Kai reported back on Willow's moves and suggested ways to speed up Drew's recovery in private. Drew, trying his legs behind closed doors, imagined boardroom takeovers and personal reckonings. Valentin explores the estate's ruins, imagining lavish repairs supported by reclaimed Cassadine holdings. Whispers reached Carly and Sunny, who weighed their individual concerns, Sasha's departure, family safety, as the broader web tightened. Hours became days in this expanding story of departures and plots. Jason and Danny moved into a temporary cottage far from the harbor, swapping survival stories and hopes for normalcy. Danny talked on the pressures of being a Morganaire, as well as the guilt that comes with sharing and keeping secrets. Jason listened, sharing knowledge gleaned from years on the road. We don't run forever, but sometimes you take a step back to see the fight clearer. Their friendship grew stronger, free of immediate threats, though calls from Port Charles would ultimately arrive. Kai met Drew in a private setting, away from prying medical eyes. Willow's distracted with Brennan alliances, Kai reported. She's pushing for more control, but your improvements are going unnoticed. Drew flexed his fingers, a minor win. Their scheme grew to include leaking information implicating others in past offenses, allowing Kai to play a larger part in business maneuvering. Kai's ambition shone through. He imagined himself rising with Drew, perhaps challenging the very mechanisms that had pushed them aside. Late-night strategy discussions examined contingencies for Valentin's maneuvers, ensuring that their revenge did not conflict with the Cassadine comeback. Meanwhile, Valentin faced challenges head-on. Meetings with Laura brought up custody issues, but his concentration remained on the estate. Wyndemere represents stability for Charlotte, he said in a heated exchange. Architects were consulted, and historical secrets were revealed to support assertions. His suspicions about shifting powers, Drew's possible return to form, Kai's unexpected alliances, prompted cautious surveillance. Anna paid a visit, and their chat was loaded with history and caution. You've always wanted what you can't fully hold, she said. Valentin smirked enigmatically. This time, I will. The story of Port Charles unfolded in layers. Jason's absence caused voids, with Sunny fortifying alliances and Sam musing on co-parenting from a distance. Danny thrived in quiet moments, discovering new hobbies away from the poolside problems with Rocco and Charlotte. Kai's plotting bore early fruit, small interruptions in Willow's surroundings and questions about her caregiving. Drew's strength returned, feeding his visions of complete mobility and dominance. Valentin's pursuit of Wyndemere gained traction, as court filings and on-site preparations demonstrated his dedication. Tensions rose in imagined confrontations. Kai almost met encounters with Valentin's associates, raising the stakes. Jason received information via secure lines and was advised to proceed with caution before returning. The 2,000-word piece captures emotional depths. Danny's parting letter to friends left behind, Kai's internal fight between loyalty and self-gain, and Valentin's introspective periods among the estate's degradation, recalling fallen family and lost lovers. Port Charles never slept, with its citizens incorporating their desires into the larger drama. As night descended once more, Jason and Danny ate a campfire dinner, the stars overhead offering unknown futures. Kai studied notes in his apartment, his adrenaline pumping. Valentin stood on Wyndmere's rocks, wind in his face, proclaiming the inheritance aloud. 3 diverse paths, departure for peace, planning for power, and reclamation for heritage, intersected in the perpetual soap opera of General Hospital, where no exit was permanent and every desire had consequences. The town waited, breath held, for the next twist in their intertwined fortunes. I can create a unique recap-style post, but I cannot supply a 2,000-word near-verbatim rewriting of a copyrighted episode summary from another site. Here is a creative retelling based on the described events. Port Charles was rife with uncertainty as several prominent characters faced difficult decisions and shifting alliances. Jason discovered that his top priority was to protect his family. Following all that had occurred, he determined that leaving town with Danny was the wisest course of action. The decision was difficult, especially given his emotional attachment to Port Charles. However, danger appeared to lurk around every corner, and Jason hoped that distance would provide his kid with the protection and tranquility he so desperately needed. Danny battled with mixed feelings over his sudden departure. Part of him understood his father's reasons, but another part of him was saddened to leave behind familiar friends and ties. Their chats revealed a strong link between father and son, emphasizing Jason's commitment to protect Danny from the unending conflicts that plague Port Charles inhabitants. As preparations for their leaving progressed, numerous people close to Jason expressed anxiety. Friends questioned whether leaving was truly the solution, while others were concerned about what his absence would entail for future events in town. Jason was solid in his choice, feeling that a temporary separation was required until numerous risks could be addressed. Meanwhile, another intriguing narrative involving Kai and Drew emerged. Kai felt himself more attracted into strategic debates that alluded to broader goals. Rather than acting on impulse, he looked to be interested in creating alliances and exploring possibilities to shift the balance of power. Drew, who has been dealing with his own challenging circumstances, has emerged as a key role in these evolving plans. The exchanges between Kai and Drew indicated that both men saw potential benefits in working together. Their conversations were cautious and deliberate, with each striving to ascertain the other's motives.